What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. Today I wanted to talk about what I've been doing the last 5 months. I've been studying Mandarin pretty regular, pretty hardcore. I haven't talked about it here because I always get into this habit of talking about my study habits, and then I end up becoming more obsessed with making videos versus study, so I did it for myself. I've briefly mentioned it here or there, but not as far as how intense it has been. I finished Yo-Yo Chinese's Mandarin beginner's course. I'm working through the intermediate course right now. But I want to talk about 5 things that I wish I knew before starting learning Mandarin. Now, I've learned Mandarin in the past, and by learned, I mean I'll look at it and then I'm like, oh, this is intense, so I'm not gonna do that regularly, right? Like, I've learned a couple of things, like how to say a few words here or there, but never really like dove into the language. And I started in late October, and why I'm not doing a 6-month thing and a 5-month thing is because, again, I finished Yo-Yo Chinese's beginner conversational course, and I was like, well, it seems like the perfect time. Number 1, Mandarin Chinese is way easier than you think. Now, that's a very loaded statement, and the reason I'm loading with this is because if you're new to Chinese or you're starting it, it's not easy at all. But I wanted to lead with this because it is way easier than you think. We have this perception of Mandarin Chinese being this crazy thing that's impossible to learn. It's got all the symbols, right? It's got all the Hanzi. It's really hard. But there's a lot of things that make Mandarin quite easy in regards to how other languages are. For one, verb conjugations don't exist. So like sure is, which is to be, is sure all the time. If it's in the past, there's a particle that you can use that lets you know. The language is very logical in my opinion. Yes, tones can be a little bit hard, but they're not quite as bad as you think. You kind of learn them instinctively. I know tones of most of the stuff that I can say. That just doesn't mean I can say it when I'm speaking fast. If I slow down, I can try. Number 2, Pinyin is okay. When I started, or when I would dabble in it before, it was always like, oh man, get rid of Pinyin, use the characters. And obviously, yes, that's what your end goal is. I didn't know until doing the Chinese course, the Yo-Yo Chinese course, that Pinyin is, I mean, I think it's recognized by China. That's how they type on their keyboard. Like, they type in Pinyin. So it's not like Romaji for Japanese. Like, Pinyin is okay. Now, I wouldn't rely on it, and some of the sounds and stuff, like, you know, you need to learn how to read it because the pronunciation's not what you think it is. But at the same time, when you're a beginner, I don't see the issue. Maybe from where I'm not a super advanced speaker of Mandarin, like maybe people would judge me on that, but like as far as right now, Pinyin is okay. When I read, because I am reading a little bit in Chinese, in Mandarin, if I don't know the word, I'll look at the Pinyin. I mean, I'm not overly concerned about it. I don't know. I guess it just depends. I'm a very relaxed language learner. I don't want to rely on Pinyin, and I'll turn it off, and I'll try to force myself to look at it and know what it is. And like, I'll also, a lot of times from context, especially if it's something I've read before, I'll know, you know, what the pronunciation of the character is. So I'm not overly worried about Pinyin. It's very, very okay. If somebody's telling you that your Chinese is not progressing because you're looking at Pinyin versus the characters, I mean, are you happy? Are you progressing? Are you satisfied with your progressions? That's what you need to look at. Number 3, China produced their own anime. And I say this because there's a lot of people who love anime, but I was looking this up because I was like, oh, I wonder if they produce their own kind of anime. And just because sometimes, you know, you want something a little different from live action movies or TV, and I found it, and it's really, really good. Netflix has several manhwa on there. Number 4, traditional versus simplified. After watching Yo-Yo Chinese, I believe they said 80% of the characters are the same. The other 20% are different. So even if you start with one and want to migrate to another, if you want to try to learn both, because maybe you're not sure if you're going to mainland China or Taiwan, whatever the case may be, it's not like if you start simplified, you're going to be completely lost, and traditional uses just this completely wild other opposite alphabet. That's not the case, according to what I've learned. The reason I started simplified was just because I was like, if I learn something, I'm going to obviously learn simplified, right? Why would I learn something harder? And honestly, if you look, I've looked at, like, Yo-Yo Chinese teaches both. And I've looked at both as I go through, more so concentrated on the simplified, but I'll look at both. And a lot of times you can see the simplified character within the traditional character. A lot of times it's way different. Like, I think Ge is way different. Like the topic marker, or the the general counter. Pick one. If you choose to switch, again, no big deal. Are you happy with what you're doing? That's kind of the theme of this. It's kind of the theme of my entire channel this last year, but if you need to switch, do it. I'm watching a bunch of stuff from Taiwan because I'm finding it a little bit harder to get my hands. I can get my hands on stuff from mainland China. It's just way easier to find Taiwanese stuff because of Netflix and things like that, so, but I'm still doing simplified. Number 5, this has been the biggest help for me to learn, and it's something that I wish I would have done with, say, Japanese or something like that. Practicing recall cards within my Anki has helped me learn so much faster. With Japanese, I would simply have the card and it would say it in Japanese, or I'd try to read it and I would move on. With Mandarin, the Yo-Yo Chinese deck that I use is completely all recall because Yo-Yo Chinese has flashcards on their desktop, and once you learn it a certain amount of times, it's quote-unquote mastered. I have these recall cards. I will try to say it slow and mimic the tones as best I can, and then I will shadow that card. And speaking it out loud and forcing my brain to recall that information has made things stick so much more. I say this with complete seriousness. Mandarin Chinese, as far as me being able to speak, is the best language that I have. But the recall cards for Chinese has helped tremendously. And then when I'm in Yo-Yo Chinese, I do where it speaks Chinese and it has the Hanzi up on the screen, so I can practice listening and reading, and then I answer, you know, whatever the flashcard is, and I answer it from there. So, yeah, that's 5 things that I wish I would have known before I started learning, just to make it a little bit easier. I learned all these just over the course of the last 5 months, so it's not like I'm super far in debt to, you know, the time of not knowing some of this information. Practicing recall also, shout out to my friend Adriana. She is the one who was like, you should practice recall. She was like, I get the input thing. She's an input learner, but she was like, you need to practice recall so you can, because it's that way you're practicing saying. And as soon as I started practicing recall with Mandarin Chinese, it 100% like just changed the game of what I can do in Chinese. And I feel confident that that could work in other languages. Now, you don't have to do that because, again, the whole point of this channel, you do what makes you happy. I just wanted to introduce some of this information to maybe help other Mandarin learners along their way. So that is all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a little bit longer of a video, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know down below. If you have any questions about Yo-Yo Chinese, let me know down below because I am going to make a video on that. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.